Good evening. This is Dr. Arlen Ford, the chairman of Activator Methods International. And I just noticed that we have about 100 people checking in tonight, which we're excited about. Just some ground rules for the evening. We'll ask questions at the end just because it'll work better. Just write them down and send them in to us, and we'll put them on the screen. We may not be able to get all of them, but we'll get as many as we can. And I even noticed we have people as far as Australia on board here tonight. So we're welcoming all the Aussies and other people that are coming in now from around the world. And we've got an exciting program tonight. And let me just introduce myself again for some of you that came in late. I'm Dr. Arlen Ford, the chairman of Activator Methods and founder. And this last year, I was around the world talking to chiropractors, and I kept getting a theme of things that people were having difficulties with. And one of the themes that I kept hearing all the time is, I'm stuck between 60 and 80 patients per week. And in talking to Dr. Unruh, I decided to make a trip to Sioux Falls, South Dakota to visit his practice. And in his practice on Vive, we witnessed him seeing 400 patients per week in that practice. And so we started looking at the systems. Now, Dr. Unruh is also the chief experience officer. Now, what's a chief experience officer? When you go to a seminar, we try to have an experience, and the patient that walks into an office should have a great experience. And so that's why Dr. Unruh is the chief experience officer of Sidecar. In his role, he transformed this whole practice into a step-by-step procedure. And the other thing I heard from people all over the world was, I hate electronic notes. I hate doing them at night. And so I posed that question to Dr. Unruh, and he'll talk about it as he gives his presentation, showing that he absolutely does not stay at night doing notes. So it'll be worth your whole participation just to hear that. So let's begin and get started here. And I'd like to introduce Nathan. He's a Northwestern graduate, and by the way, did not start as an activator practitioner. That came later. That came when he got tired, he said, of hurting himself. And he said he wanted something that he could have a step-by-step procedure with the patient. And we found two things that cause practices to stymie. One is the doctor doesn't have a solid clinical experience. And so the patient experiences that also. And so once you get a step-by-step procedure, and I've often said this, I don't care what kind of a practitioner you are, but you ought to be really good at it. Malcolm Baldrige wrote, you have to do things 10,000 hours before you become an expert. Well, Dr. Unruh felt the same way. So we began to put these things together and decided to do a few seminars here, some webinars, and how to take this practice from that 60 to 80 people a week. And as you'll hear Dr. Unruh say, when you get to 100 patients a week, you're barely paying the bills. And it's not till you get to 150 patients a week that you actually start to serve people and have a great confidence and make enough to support yourself and your family to really have an enjoyable practice. So Dr. Unruh is from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. He not only has that one practice doing 400 patients a week, but he has 4 other practices that he put these principles to work in. And each one of those practices are now seeing over 125 patients per week, heading into the 150. So I wanted him to explain some of these things to you. And so I'm going to let him start here where he says the average chiropractor sees 60 to 80 patients per week. Dr. Nathan Unruh, you can take over.
Thank you, Dr. Ford. Thank you for that introduction. I'm excited to be here with everybody this evening. I'm still amazed by the number of people coming in on this call from all around the world. It's fun to be with a bunch of people who are excited about making their businesses and their lives better. And so with the information we're going to share with you tonight, I know you're going to take some things away to help improve your life, improve your business. One of the things that I want to just make note of, and Dr. Four, you said a couple of things during your introduction of, the word documentation just makes my skin crawl because it was one of the things that really kept us from being efficient. And so we'll talk about that here in a little while. But just, I graduated from Parker College of Chiropractic. Did you know that? So not Northwestern, but I love Northwestern. So the docs that work with me in my offices, they all graduated from Northwestern. So we always tease each other about the different schools that we attended. I have the opportunity to serve on the clinical advisory board with Activator, which has been a great role for me to just learn about the history of Activator and the persistence and diligence and amount of passion that went into 50 years that developed one of the most researched techniques in our profession. But the thing that excited me the most about being a part of that role is hearing Dr. Ford's vision for the next 50 years and that vision of activating the world. And in doing that, bringing results, bringing the reliability, and bringing the research. And we're going to couple some of those statements today throughout this presentation to help you and your business thrive. So as you look on your screen right now, it's a sad statement, but it's reality. 60 to 80 patient visits per week is what the average chiropractor is seeing right now. They typically have 1 to 3 staff in those practices. And unfortunately, too many times I hear on a day-to-day basis, their business isn't running well. And more sad is that they just don't feel adequate. It's not what they signed up for. Too many doctors we speak to are in a crisis mode, and they know they need a change. They've had multiple bad experiences with different chiropractic management groups. Here's some of the things I've heard from doctors. Every coaching group we hired said to discount our fees, do small screenings, sell treatment plans. Another doctor said, they taught me cookie cutter methods that made me feel slimy. Another person says, they just don't address me as a person. They just tell me what to do, and their solutions don't feel like me. You're not going to hear some of those things this evening. You're going to hear things that have been researched, that have been proven, that we know that our doctors are using in their offices to scale their businesses, to create more affluence in their lives. If you stay to the end, I promise you'll take some things away, and I guarantee you'll be able to increase your business by 30% in the next 18 months. Now, you're going to have to do the work, but the doctors are seeing tremendous growth. We're talking to a lot of doctors that feel burned out. They're losing sleep, ready to quit. I had one doctor tell me the other day, the practice is sucking the life out of me. Many doctors will tell us that their team, they can't get teams. They can't hire the people to help them. And many doctors say, their teams feel like they're working against them. This is what one doctor told me. I discovered she being the front staff, was telling people we were too busy to see them when we only had 55 patients per week. We have staff that use this, or doctors that use this statement. I felt held hostage by my staff. Another statement, the doctor said, I felt like I was pushing my business uphill while everyone else was pulling in the opposite direction. So do any of those statements resonate with you? Because I know myself in running 5 offices and being in practice going on 20 years here that, a lot of those things I felt during that time. And I'm sure many of you feel those same things right now or have felt them. But here's the problem is with 60 to 80 patient visits a week, the average salary that we're seeing chiropractors right now is $60,000 per year. $60,000 per year doesn't go very far, especially when you're got rising debt. You have business debt. You have this constant need for new patients, and no wonder, because at $60K a year, it's hard to pay the bills. So not only are you not thriving, you're barely even surviving. And so that's very hard also to really attract a good team. And so what we know is that, as you get to that 75 to 100 patient visits per week, you start to break even. But as Dr. Ford said, as you go beyond that 100 visit mark, you start to enjoy a different life. And that's what we're talking about tonight. How can we give you some practical solutions to improve your business and improve your life? Some of the things that the biggest problems that I hear from doctors is that they feel they're out of balance. No time for their families, no time for fun, no time for a guilt-free vacation. Is that any of you? I know I've had many times where I go on vacation and I don't want to be there because I'm thinking about I can't afford it, or I don't have, I feel bad for being gone from the business. You know, and the biggest thing that I hear, and this is probably one of the biggest reasons we get out of bed and do what we do at Sidecar, is that these doctors are telling us they just don't feel like the person they want to be. That bothers me. That bothers us. And it should bother you. The other thing is that here's what we know. The world needs chiropractors. And the lack of business training is threatening their viability. So therefore, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. You know, the tactics of other practice management companies to just get more new patients hurt our practices as a whole, and they hurt chiropractic. So we're not going to talk about those things this evening. So here's a few questions I want to ask you. As you look at these problems, and many of you, there's a ton of you on this call this evening. You all have your own individual story. You all have the reasons that you came into this call and made this investment of time. So what is it? Is it because that, are you burnt out? Are you brand new in practice and you don't know which way to turn? Are you worried that your business could go bankrupt if you don't do something different? Is the student debt and the business debt mounting? What happens if you don't change? You know, this idea of this chiropractic dream, we all had our own dream when we entered school, but what if that dream becomes a nightmare? So let's prevent that from happening because the world needs chiropractors. So let's talk through a few things tonight. These are the 4 things that doctors will tell me when they call us that they want. They want more time. They want more money. They want more patients. They want a better team. More time, that may be weekends and vacations, not feeling exhausted or burnt out. They want to retire someday. How about more money to pay off debts and student loans? Just had a doctor who's been with us since 2012. Told us he paid off $600,000 in his debt. He's now debt-free. What a great feeling of liberation that is for him. You know, being able to meet an equity goal line, to have the opportunity to retire, to have the opportunity to do another creative act, or have the opportunity that you're just going to go to work because you want to. You don't have to. You know, so more patients. Many of you want a better brand. You want something that's better for patients, less patient turnover, better retention, a better team. I mean, the team carries the dream. We know that. A high-performing team, one that you can trust, one that doesn't feel like you hold you hostage. I can't tell you how many people tell me about it may be Virgine, it may be Billy, it may be Mary, it may be, oh, we can't lose Sally. If we lose Sally, I don't know what we're going to do. If you've caught yourself saying those things, that's a problem, doc. So let's help you get your dream, the American dream, whatever dream you are, wherever you live in the world. You know, we all want a practice that heals patients, empowers. We can empower our team. We can give them the life that they want. We want you to be a respected business owner and a respected community member. We want you to have your passion back. So how are we going to do that? What's the solution? So let's talk about it. It's 3 things. It's about, you got to care about delivering consistent patient results, number 1. Number 2, you got to understand reliability is your best business tool. And number 3, focus on building trust. Now, if you read those things and step back, if you got a pen, write those down. Because you know what? They seem simple, don't they? And they are simple, but they're not easy. And why do I say that? Is because if they were easy, you all would be doing them. Because it's those 3 things that have helped me scale my business and my enterprise. Those 3 things helped create thriving practices that the doctors that we serve right now using those 3 things. So we want to be able to take struggling doctors. And doc, here's the reality. If you've been in practice more than a year, you're full. And let me say that again. If you've been in practice more than a year, you're full. Doing things with the same systems and procedures that you're using. You know, one of my good mentors, Dr. C, says you can't put 5 pounds of crap in a 3-pound bag. You know, you can pull up a bus, big old yellow bus with 100 patients on it and pull them up to your practice, but they'll be gone just as fast as they enter in if they have the same systems and procedures that you're using. So we want to take the struggling chiropractors, develop them into confident business leaders, leading a high-performing team, be a respected business owner, community member, and provide for your family so you can achieve your dreams. I've been through this. I've tried marketing gimmicks. I've made terrible hires. I've lacked balance in my life. Many of the people that are my mentors have helped me. We want to help chiropractors get through their struggles and achieve affluence. The good news is there's doctors that are thriving, who are engaging and understanding these 3 things, and we're going to tear them apart in just a minute. But I promise you, if you do these 3 things, and again, they're simple, but they're not easy. But if you do these 3 things, here's the reality. Here's what we're hearing. Doctor tells me I'm getting my life back. Our office has grown to 500 patients per week in less hours with significant less stress. Another doctor, my life is fun. Another one tells us, I see more patients per week now with 1 doctor than I did with 4 doctors working 26 hours instead of 40. That doctor, I cannot remember the last time we had to stay up worrying about making overhead and having a blast with our lives. You know, we got doctors telling us about this idea of affluence, and affluence is not just about money, it's about great relationships in your life. That doctor just gave us this nice statement. I had a streak of 22 consecutive months of more patient visits than the same month of the previous year. In a short period of time, I've built a solid business and will soon be debt-free. But here's the best statements that we hear. I became the chiropractor I was meant to be. Sidecar helped me grow not only as a chiropractor, but as a husband, a father, a son, an entrepreneur, and leader in my community. That's what it's all about. You know, one doc told us that I had an underlying insecurity that because things weren't going well, it must be because of a deficiency in me. Sidecar has helped me become a confident leader and has made me more confident with my patients. And Dr. Ford, stated in the beginning, to develop the clarity and confidence. So people are hiring us and firing us every second of every day. But how do we help create that confidence? And it's really attacking these 3 things. Care about delivering consistent patient results, underlying reliability, understand reliability is your best business tool, and then focus on trust. Because if you do those things, you're going to save time, you're going to increase revenue, you're going to increase patient visits per week, you're going to increase patient satisfaction, you're going to reduce your advertising, you're going to have an increased employee satisfaction. All right, so let's get tactical. Number 1 here, care about delivering consistent patient results. What you see on the screen right there that's my office, one of my offices here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It doesn't look like your typical chiropractic office. And we did that on purpose because we know this. Patients are comparing their experience in your office to their last best experience. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in an experience economy. If you don't provide a better patient experience compared to not the last chiropractor, no, they may have stayed at the Four Seasons Hotel. They may have had a great service at Starbucks that was efficient. They knew how much they were going to pay for that cup of coffee. Wherever they may be, they're comparing their experience in your office to that. So it's absolutely critical. How's your office smell? How does it look? What's the office flow? Does it support systems and procedures to improve your overall efficiencies with the patients? Because here's the reality. Clinical competency alone will not make you successful. You couple the systems and procedures that Activator teaches along with the business training that Sidecar teaches, that's how we start to get care that's concerned with delivering consistent patient results. As Dr. Ford stated, I didn't start with Activator, but here's why I really got into Activator. Number 1, I saw a lot of successful doctors using the activator. I kind of looked at it as like, it's a success technique. And so that was one of the reasons. But another reason is that as I started seeing a higher volume of patients in my office, it took a toll on my body. So that was another reason that said, Nathan, you got to do something different. Then the third reason is I started having more doctors that were working with me. We wanted some reliability with the technique between doctors. So that was another reason that I did it. But then as I dove into it and understood the amount of research that went into it and how it addressed some of the other concerns that patients have about as far as safety, it was a great technique and it was a great boost to my business. And so the other thing about delivering consistent patient results is that you have to understand and write these down because these are a big deal. This is why what people hate about going to a doctor. Number one, the EHR, the electronic health record. Because unfortunately anymore, we've got our nose stuck in the computer and we don't even make eye contact in a simple smile. And it just really diminishes the patient interaction with the team members or even the doctor. I had a patient tell me the other day, he had a doctor visit that sat down and the patient finally looked at the doctor and said, "Hey doc, am I interrupting you? Do you want me to come back?" The doctor goes, "Oh, no, that's okay. I'll be done here in a minute." But what a terrible experience. Patients hate the EHR. Now, we have to use them, I get it. But you have to realize you better use it efficiently. And EHR is not a practice builder. As much as that, I know that might tick maybe the EHR companies off, but it is a necessary evil, yes. But use it to help provide better patient experiences. Don't become robotic. Don't treat people like humanoid widgets. You better have that high touch. Be efficient. The second thing that people hate about going to the doctor's office, time. The amount of time in the office. Now, here's the thing. What is your number one product, doc? Now, I ask a lot of doctors that question. So answer that. Think about it for a second. What is your number one product? Many of you are saying, my adjustment. Some of you are saying, some other adjunct or therapy that you get. Here's the reality. And if you get nothing else, get this tonight. Your number one product is your time. You're selling your time. So once you own that idea and you start to systematize and have the procedures, this is the business training in addition to the technique training of Activator, that honors your number one product, time. Now, the third thing that patients don't like, unclear financial policies. Now, some of you are still billing 4, 5, 6 different services per visit, thinking that somebody's going to pay for it, which they're not gonna. That train left. The 80s and 90s are over. Here's what we know, guys. 85% in America right now is the fee is being paid by the patient. There's deductibles that are increasing, higher co-pays, HSA accounts. They've moved the cheese. You have to have your systems, financial systems, dialed in and how you communicate them to a patient. Because if you create confusion, a confused mind says no. Some of you on this call too aren't sending statements. And the only reason you wouldn't send a statement because you're still hoping and holding on to the fact that the insurance company is going to pay you more the money that you're billing, and you're not confident in those financial systems. But the reality is patients are seeing those EOBs, and that decreases retention, I promise you. So get your financial policies and procedures tight. You don't have to be insurance dependent. Be insurance sensitive. And we won't dive into that, but another time, or if you want to know more about that, insurance sensitive is the patient-centric model of today. The last thing, paperwork. Patients hate filling out paperwork. So get your paperwork tight. Get it simple. Keep in mind, documentation's main purpose is to keep you out of jail. Some of these paperwork that we fill out, I did it. I had 7, 8 pages, thought I had to ask, what color their hair was, last time they had a bowel movement and everything else. I never read it. So add the stuff that's going to add value to the visit. Keep in mind, we got it. Patients are comparing their experience in your office with their last best experience. We are in a experience economy. So that's number one. Number two, understand reliability is your best tool. This is why I love the Activator. With 50 years, it's been banging it out, doing the research, innovating, changing things, developing the technique, doing the research, developing the instruments. And here's the thing. There's not a practice that shouldn't have an activator. Whether you're 100% activator or not, you should have an activator in your office. It will help your business. Some patients, they demand that you have the activator. And the more and more that you're seeing, for instance, and another thing is from a reliability standpoint, I rely on the activator website. I have a premium listing. If you don't have a premium listing, it's a huge, very inexpensive investment that you can have to be able to send patients to other practitioners around. But in addition to the people send patients to you. And it's a 50-year brand carried with it that says reliability. And so by utilizing the activator technique, the activator instruments, and the Activator 5, as I'm sitting here at my desk right now, I have 3 of them sitting on my desk. Why 3? I never want to be without one. They work wonderfully and get great results. So again, understand reliability is your best business tool. The wonderful thing about the technique, you know where to start, you know where to stop, which is another fantastic thing that honors your number one product, and that's time. And the last thing here that you need to focus on is building trust. Your trust, when we see the newest Gallup poll that came out of Palmer, the public doesn't trust us. They still have concern about safety. That's wonderful about Activator. Those concerns are met. Even as we talk right now, chiropractors and even myself, we get a little jagged by all the stuff that people are trying to sell us or seminars we go up to and what the platform speakers are. Well, here's the thing. Whether it be Activator or be Sidecar, if you're having concerns about trust, just lend us 5% of your trust and we'll gain the other 95%. Providing you with those reliability, providing you with the results, providing you with the proven systems to help you scale your business and improve your life. So as you look at those 3 things on that screen, trust, safety, and time, those 3 things are huge. You need proven systems in order to do that. Activator has established that over and over and over again over the years. Another thing with trust I want to drive home tonight. Do what you say you're going to do, how you say you're going to do it, and when you say you're going to do it. As you have the instrument in your hand and you go through the technique and you get the Sidecar business systems, that's going to give you the confidence and the clarity to say, I'm happy I'm a chiropractor. You're going to be that next success story that we talk about. Some of those people that I've told about earlier in this conversation, that'll be you saying the same things. So again, I want to just review here. If you want to build a business, 200 patient visits, 300, 400, 500, you want to take it from 60 to 80 or just get to 100. Again, you're the architect of your future. You're the architect of your business. I promise you, everybody on this call, you have everything you need to be successful. You have all the skills, you have all the abilities to be successful. So these 3 things: care about delivering consistent patient results, understand reliability is your best business tool, and focus on building trust. That's why we have the research. And they'll continue to do the research to make sure that we have the most trusted technique in the profession. On this next slide here, you'll have the opportunity in your chat, this idea that I talked about, time. We want to save you some time. So save 90 minutes each week and boost revenue with 3 proven tools. You go into the chat, fill it out. we'll give you those tools. Also, Activator Methods on Friday is having a sale to get your activators. One thing I would say, make sure you take advantage of it. They got great pricing. It's a huge investment for you and your business. So with that, right now, I just want to close with this. Activator and Sidecar, we are really dedicated to helping you become a better leader, better doctor. We want you to lead a high-performing team. We want you to have a plan, a process, a guide to get you there, because we believe that you can do what you love. We believe that every chiropractor deserves a team as good as they are. We believe that vacations are for everyone. We believe that you shouldn't have to choose between your business and your family. We believe that systems can turn any practice into a patient magnet. We believe in training and being trained. You've got to train to win, and you have to have the right resources to win. We believe that hard work should lead to ridiculously awesome results, and we believe in chiropractors. So with that, I'll open up the line for questions. Dr. Ford, do you have anything to add?
No, I'd like to know from the field what questions people have out there about this first time. I see a question just popped up. Is Activator shipping to Chile? And I have an answer for you, because we have shipped to Chile. So you can call our office or email our office, and we can help you with that.
How many countries, Dr. Ford, are you in right now?
You'll be surprised to find this out, that we have Activator is taught now in 14 universities and colleges in the United States. And we have surpassed that now internationally. We have 17 colleges and universities. That's a little different in the international system, because they have the university, a school of medicine, a school of chiropractic, a school of physical therapy, and so forth. So once you're in the university system, you're a school of that particular system. And as I said, now we have 17. And some of you that were at the 50th anniversary this year heard us talk about introducing Activator Institute VT, which is virtual training. And I want to talk just a little bit about that, because for people that are here internationally tonight, when I talk to you in English, it's going to translate it automatically into Spanish in Chile or into Portuguese in Brazil. So we'll be able to do any country in the world, even though there may be only 6 chiropractors in the Baltic countries. We'll be able to do it in the particular language of that country. And you'll be able to look at it anytime you want to look at it. We're going to take the basic scan protocol first. That'll be the first one up. And we've had that sometime now. It's in the schools. And the next thing then, it's going to be the extremities, because we found out that students coming out of school today lack experience in extremities, and they lack a lot of expertise. So we're hitting those 2 things. That'll be the hardest. And I know Nathan can talk to you all night about the virtual training, because this is what Sidecar does. And this is how we kind of got together, because we're interested in continuing education. And I'll give you an example. At Logan right now, when they go into the college, the second year, they're taking Activator, and it's downloaded right onto their tablets, and they're taking it in a blended class in the classrooms at Logan. So they get it online, and they get it hands-on from the professors at Logan. And that's the new method. They have 2 tracks. They have the manual manipulation track, and then they have the light force track, which is the Activator track. And so that's a very comprehensive way for a student coming out of school. The other thing is, you heard Dr. Unruh talk about safety. And today, because of the aging population, Activator is in a perfect position, because we can say, unequivocally that we're safe for treating osteoporosis. And we've got a big program going in Madrid right now. So these are the kind of things that Dr. Unruh was alluding to when he's talking about when you have research for safety.
One thing I want to jump in on there and just to reiterate is that the training component. Some people don't like the word training, but we have the data now to show that if we commit to 15 minutes a day and do the right training with the right resources, whether it be becoming competent in our technique, becoming competent in the way that we communicate with patients, developing our systems and procedures, our office flow patient attraction systems. We see doctors. I just had a doctor from California ready to quit 1 year ago. Fast forward 12 months, is absolutely smoking it. And this is a guy that was going to get out of the profession. So training on the right resources makes all the difference in the world.
I see another question that just came in from Kim. And it's when you get stuck at a certain number of patient visits, what's the best way to break that barrier? Well, I can give you an example because at one time in my life, I wanted to see 700 patients per week, and I was stuck down at a lower level. And I happened to run into a practitioner who had a huge practice, and I went to his office because I wanted to follow him around to see actually how he broke that cycle. And it's a thing that we call cluster booking. And if you go to Sidecar, they'll manage it for you, tell you how to manage it and so forth. But essentially what it does is if you have 20 people in a morning, instead of putting them out through the whole morning, you put them in at a certain time, like 9 o'clock in the morning. Let them all come at 9. It won't hurt a thing. Because when people see people, it's called the herding instinct. And they go, oh my gosh, that person is really busy. And so by putting them in, clustering them all at one time, and it works very interestingly because your practice will never be any bigger than it is from 4 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock at night, because that's called prime time. And that's not when you do exams. That's not when you do histories. That's when you do adjusting. And you put your repeat people in from 4 to 6 at night. And so there's a few little things like that that help you a lot because it gets you used to seeing a number of people. And so I would say start that cluster book. Dr. Unruh, would you agree with me, or do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think you're bang on, Dr. Ford. I think the thing that, when I read this doctor's question, when you get stuck at a certain number of patient visits, what is the best way to break that barrier? And that's what we speak a lot. That's what most doctors are feeling. You're full doing the same things you're doing. So there's specific fundamental procedures that you have to follow. What Dr. Ford is speaking of is the scheduling system, but there's other ones as well of how you speak to a patient. What are the things that they're really concerned about? What about obstacles as far as the office flow? Sometimes there's just structural things that get in the way. And so when we want to honor the certain principles, like such as the 8-hour principle, 2.5-hour principles, these are all business fundamentals you can't violate. No different than what gravity, what goes up must come down. Here's another question, Dr. Ford, I just saw come in. How long would you typically spend with each patient on a regular visit? And this gentleman says, I can get through an activator assessment very quickly, but building the relationship involves more than that. Also, you have private rooms, open plan, or both. And then another question the doctor is asked in the same here is, how much time does Dr. Ford spend per patient? So you want to take a shot at those two questions?
Yeah, I'd like to take a shot at both of those. About 5 minutes on a patient is the maximum, because as you said here, you can get through your analysis in that period of time. I've got a new saying, and it says, less is more. And I kind of learned it by accident. It wasn't that I was so smart. In the practice we had years ago, we served a farm community, so we did 2 nights a week from 7 till we got done at night. And we'd start with a huge wave at 7 o'clock. And by going quickly through them, we had so many people, we just had to get through them because we knew we were having another wave come at 8 o'clock. I found out something very interesting. By not talking a lot to the patients, not spending a lot of time with the patients, clearing the patients, getting them out of there, you were putting confidence into them without even working at it. And somebody asked, well, did you have an open bay? No, we didn't. We never had open bay. We had 6 adjusting rooms. And we went from room to room to room, but I had a CA going ahead of me, putting the person down. Now, here was one of the things that I did that was something that I found worked very well. The CA would go ahead and do all the talking, all about the kids, the dogs, and whatever was going on. Then I walked in. When she heard the door open, she'd say, "Shh, the doctor's coming in. He doesn't like talking." Now, if you leave a patient without talking for 2 minutes, they think they've been there for 3 hours, and they can't wait to get up to talk. And so what you do is you take that period of time to, in the case of when we didn't have electronic notes, and I would dictate to her and she'd fill in my thrust reports. And today we still think of, I know Dr. Unruh has a scribe going with him that puts it into his electronic notes. That's why he's not there at 7 o'clock at night filling in notes. But what happens is the patient gets confidence because they're only really there for one thing. That is to get well. And one time we surveyed the office and we put out a questionnaire and said, what do you think of the office? What do you think of Dr. Lee? What do you think of Dr. Four? They came back and they said, we really like Dr. Four, even though he doesn't spend a lot of time with us. The fact of the matter was they were getting well and they wouldn't give up the confidence. And we got more referrals from the Monday night practice, the Thursday night practice, and we had more volume just simply by getting them in, getting them out, and getting them well. And so I would just, caution you not to spend too much time. Some people talk themselves into poverty. So keep your mouth shut, get the patient in, get them out. And a big thing that will keep you doing that is knowing you got 10 more people in the waiting room.
One of the things I'll just add to that is docs, patients always show up for the right reasons, and it's theirs. And so what we really want to connect to is what is the true problem? And the true problem, this is just a simple nugget here I'll give you that we teach at Sidecar. The problem is not the headache or the low back pain. The problem is what they can't do. They can't lift their grandkids. They can't go play tennis, play golf. Connect the problem with what is the cause and then what is the solution. And then when you honor people's time, the thing is, the beautiful thing about our profession is that our number one product is time. And that is the number one thing patients are concerned about. So you only need to do what you need to do. And Dr. Ford's bang on that you want a patient-centric office that gets results. Here's another question, Dr. Ford. I know we'll have a few more moments here. I like this question. I struggle with balancing my passion and purpose of helping all my patients with taking it personally when patients are happy with their improvement and miss a much greater level of health. I feel frustrated and would like help in serving at the highest quality without the constraint of being so vested. Does your system address issues like this? The answer to your question is yes. And the thing is there, Doc, I have had the same struggle and have felt the same thing, that I would try to carry everybody's problems with me. The thing is, they're there for their reasons, not yours. And so there's ways that we can teach you how to address that. Go ahead, Dr. Ford.
Well, I just happened to see a follow-up question up here. Nicole says, how long is a cluster and how many patients do you book per cluster? Don't the patients mind the wait? The answer is you don't have patients wait for an hour. But when you're handling people every 5 to 10 minutes, they're moving. They're starting into the waiting room, then they go to an adjusting room and so forth. So they're always on the move. But there's a critical thing with patients seeing other patients in a waiting room. It's again what I called before that herding instinct. And it's something that once they see that you're really busy, they don't mind waiting as much. I mean, you can't have them there for half an hour. We never had anybody wait in our office for more than 10 minutes. That was the maximum. Dr. Unruh, you've got stats on that. What's your average waiting time?
Yeah, great. It's 15-minute door-to-door time. So this doctor's question is, and Dr. Ford, I love what you're saying. I've never heard it called herding like that. We call it social proofing, but it's the same thing. People want to go where people go, but you want to be able to 15-minute door-to-door times. And when you execute on that, and that takes a system. And that system is not built around running people through. It's built upon what your adjusting time is. And so you can reverse engineer that. And that's something we can teach you. So yes, Dr. Ford, to answer your question, the highest volume practices, people serving the most people, have door-to-door times of 15 minutes or less. And we know that increases because, for instance, let's use a practical example. If you have a mama who's got two screaming kids sitting in the back, it's Friday afternoon, and she's got a headache and she wants to get adjusted, and she calls your office and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're full. Doctor can see you Monday." She's never coming back. So therefore, you've got to have systems in place that allow them to be able to go bring their two kids, get in and out within 15 minutes, get the care that they desire to help see your practice grow. So that's just one practical example. And here, I assure you, there's systems and procedures to help that. And it's so smooth when you understand it. Here's another question coming in. I got to take this one. This is from Mitchell, South Dakota, home of the Corn Pals, right here in my home state. What is the best marketing strategy for a new practitioner from your viewpoint? Great question, Doc. Create the best experience in your office through proper systems and procedures, and you become a new patient magnet. All these little things that I'm talking about and Dr. Forrest talked about, that's the best marketing strategy. Because if you go, you got to understand that marketing, the brand exists in the mind, and marketing is all the touch points to your office. Advertising are just tactics. You want to concentrate on building the best brand. Do you have anything to add to that, Dr. Forrest?
Well, somebody says here too, what are some of the best ways for referrals? You know, this has been one of my pet projects for the last probably 15 years. I wanted to have a worldwide referral system for Activator where people could go from a country to a country and find an Activator practitioner proficiency rated. We actually now, with the electronic world, we have the data to back this up now. Last month on Google Analytics, we sent 15,000 new patients, that's last month, to our Activator proficiency rated doctors. Now, here's the really interesting part. 70% of those people had not been in an Activator practice before. 30% came from Minnesota to Arizona for the winter. Those people move around every time it gets cold. But the most important statistic was that 70% of those people were looking for an Activator practitioner. So what that tells me is we're getting the Activator word out across the world. So if you're in London, punch up activator.com on your cell phone and punch in patient, and you can find a patient in Manchester, in London, wherever you're at. So we're doing it electronically now, and that seems to be the way of the future and everything. You know, I have 3,000 people on Facebook, and it's a medium to talk to people, and it's quick and it's fast. Look what we're doing here tonight. We have over 140 people on here. We're not going to be able to get through all the questions, so I suspect we should do this again because there's some other important questions coming down the line here, as we can see.
Yes. Very good.
Now, here's a question I want to answer. As a practitioner that primarily uses manual adjusting, do you ever convert patients to Activator? And the answer is yes, we do. And you know, what's the best way to do it? There's two ways, and we've tried this for years and shown it to be successful. If you're a really confident practitioner, and I can remember one that I knew that was a big Thompson practitioner, and he was killing himself. And so he came to Redwood Falls, Minnesota when I was practicing there because he didn't believe us. And at the end of the day, and we'd seen over 100 patients, and we're saying, what do we want to do tonight? And he goes like, I would have been dead. And so he went back to his small town in Ohio, and he simply walked in one morning and said, this is what I'm going to be doing. If you want me as your doctor, I've got a new scientific way of doing it. And so we're going to do it nice and easy for you. He said he never lost a patient. So that's one way. But if you're not quite that confident, take the new patients in and start them in Activator, and then just continue, because you probably got some people that still like an anterior dorsal move. I mean, when we invented Activator, I had a couple of those that I took care of till they died, and they were happy. So don't make the big transition. There's just two ways you can do it.
That's great advice. One other question here, and what is the best electronic notes for Activator? Two systems, it's just my opinion. Chiro Touch and Practice Studio are two good EHRs for that.
I'm looking at another question here. I routinely make, well, I guess it's a statement, I routinely made and received referrals between Australia, UK, US, and Europe. And so you can see the internet at work when you see a statement like that. Mark, thanks for sending that in. We're seeing more and more the world is connected. And I think that's probably why it's so important that you, well, let me tell you the latest thing that we learned. If you have a page where they can see you, here's what the patient wants. They want to see a picture of you, like you're looking at Dr. Unruh on the page here. They want to see your picture. They want to see either a picture of your staff or a picture of your building. I mean, those are the crazy things that patients want to see because they have to go there. So they want to know, where are they going? Who's going to greet them? And what does that doctor look like? Because as the people in the, well, remember the lady that spoke this summer at Brain Spa, Nathan, she said they will make an analysis of you in the first 4 seconds that they see you either on the screen or if they meet you in person. So we think that it's really important that you show your clinic, the picture of it and so forth. And it, you know, you don't have to have, here's the other thing, you don't have to have a fancy clinic. A clean clinic with everything in place and in order and procedures, and have an experience when they walk through that door. The first person they meet is that CA, and Dr. Unruh, you can speak to that better than I can, how you train them. So take a shot at that.
Yeah, you know, here's the thing, the team carries the dream. And so the one thing that I see here doctors get really frustrated with is that, oh, I can't get my team to do this. I can't get my team to do this. And I say, well, show me your training procedures. What do you mean training procedures? I don't have any. I said, well, that's why you're having a hard time with it. If you don't train them to how they answer the phone. I mean, that's one of the biggest tragedies that I see is how people answer their phone. There's only 5 types of phone calls that come into an office. And if you don't train that correctly, you're losing thousands of dollars. Train them to be first date ready. How do they look? How do they greet somebody? How do they handle objections? How do they handle all the different interactions that take place? All that's training. And if you have the right training systems, you can. You know, another thing here that another doctor sent in is, if I can't even get people in the door, how do systems help me? I agree with you. Systems help if you can get them in. But other than that, I don't see it. Great question, Doc, and I agree with you 100%. But you also have client attraction systems. Because by you stating that in that question, we need to teach you a client acquisition system to get them in the door. And there's systems for that. There's systems for everything.
You know, I just looked at that question too, and I felt bad because I feel the frustration. And I think I want to go back to some basic stuff that I remember doing as a young practitioner. We spend too much time sitting in our offices. And I think if you got systems from Dr. Unruh on how do you speak to people outside the office. I used to have a little saying that I did when I spoke at Parker. You have in-house marketing and out-house marketing. And out-house marketing means you get out of your office. And this weekend, one of our instructors had a baby, and so I got the call to do it in Phoenix. And this young doctor was sitting in the front, and I chatted with her during a break, and I said, how are you doing? She'd been out 2 years. And she said, I'm doing really well. I'm up to 50 patients a day. I said, in 2 years, you're at 50 patients a day. She said, yeah, I'm 100% activator. And she said, my patients just love it. And I said, but what are you doing to get 50 patients per day? She says, working my ass off. I said, tell me about that. And she said, I'm outside the office in everything in the community that's going on. I'm there. And she said, it's a lot of work, but that's what I'm talking about. Outhouse. You got to get out of your office, and you got to be handing out cards and passing out tracts and meeting with people. I remember I ran, when I was really dumb, I ran for the state senate in the state of Minnesota, and I campaigned for about a 6-month period. And every night at 5 o'clock, I went out and door knocked in the whole community, and I handed out a card. I said, I want to be your state senator, and if I can't be that, I'll be your chiropractor. My practice went up 36% during that campaign, and I lost the race. I thought I'm going to campaign every year just to build my practice. But what was I doing? Contact with patients. 3 years later, I'd have people coming into my office bringing a 4 for state Senate card and said, "We're glad you lost. We're here for you to take care of us." What I'm trying to say to you is you have to get out and meet people.
Yeah, let me, Dr. Jonathan, too. I mean, I'm with you, Dr. Ford. I mean, great advice. Everything you just said, but it makes me feel bad when I hear that. So let me do one thing, Dr. Jonathan. I wrote a book called Strike It, the 9 catalytic principles to ignite your potential. It's all about how do you become more magnetic. I'll send it to you. Anybody on the call, you shoot an email over to info@sidecaredge.com. We'll send you a book on us to help you, and that'll help you start to understand some of those principles.
You know, we had a sad thing happen here today. One of our associate clinical instructors was killed by a drunk driver, and his son called me today. And he has a nice practice and looking for a young doctor. So he's in Florida, and we sent immediate word down to Palmer, Florida, looking for a young doctor to come out. And there are incidents that happen like this throughout the world. We're thinking about setting up a system where people can learn where to buy a practice quickly and get into practice. And Dr. Unruh can show you how to start a practice with low overhead, not killing you off before you get going. And there are some things that I hope we've shared with you tonight. I know we're almost out of time. And I can tell you, I don't know if you guys enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it because it just brought back a lot of memories of what I like to do in helping patients. Dr. Unruh, do you have anything more to say here? We're just about out of time.
Yeah, I you know what, Dr. Ford, first and foremost, thank you for your passion and dedication to 50 years. Thanks for doing this. I know you don't have to do this after 50 years of doing this. And to bring in and bring your wisdom and to do this in an evening like this just tells me about your passion. And for that I thank you.
Well, everybody, if you enjoyed this, email me, awford@activator.com, and let us know if you're interested in another one. We've got several of them we've been talking about. We think with Activator teaming up with Sidecar, it's an ethical business training and not a practice management. That bothers me. And where they sign these kids up for a lot of money and they end up broke. I just think that we can help you with some of the experience we have. And that's my goal in life now, is helping young doctors get started. And we've got some, I think, real good things here that we can help you with. And if you're interested, let us know. And we had over 140 people here tonight on the call as our first one out. And we're happy to continue doing these occasionally. And so again, thank you all for listening. It was fun to do, and we hope to see you again. Dr. Unruh, thank you very much for all the work you do, and we'll be talking to you shortly. Monthly, I guess my director back here is saying we're going to be doing these monthly for a while to make sure that we get everybody covered.
I love it. All right, guys. Thanks for the chance. Thanks. Talk soon.